Okay, today I have the honor and joy of spending some time with Linda. So I've known her for just over a year, which isn't that long. But over this past year, we've become good friends. Not only is she highly knowledgeable in the rug industry because she is the third generation in her family to own a business in the industry, she is also an extremely loving and generous individual. She's always the first to support us in our fundraising campaigns, including this month's Month of Giving. And her company, Organic Weave, helps and serves many people, including a commitment to ending child labor. So I just want to say hi, Linda, and thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thanks for having me, Sandy.
I'm so excited. There's so much that I want to talk to you about. So let's jump right in. The first question that I have for you is, you're the third generation in your family to own a business in the rug industry. So obviously, I'm sure it's running a business now is very different than when your grandparents used to run the business. It's definitely more competitive and there's a lot more options for consumers to choose from. What makes Organic Weave so special and have allowed you to keep it going for so long?
I love this question, Sandy, because in a sense, not much has changed from how my grandfather did business and how I do business, because what's old is new again. So we say farm to table with food. What we do is make rugs farm to floor. All natural ingredients, just like my grandfather did. So all natural wool, all natural cotton, handmade with natural dyes. It's it's before chemicals existed. This is a traditional craft. So we're making rugs the way rugs were made centuries ago. So in a sense, we're doing what was done generations ago in the 1920s when my grandfather started.
Right, right. So with rugs being machine made nowadays, though, there are obviously a lot more options for people to choose from. So how do you have them choose something that is handmade versus something that is machine made? Or do people even know the difference?
I think the majority of people are looking at rugs from a color and style perspective, and all the other considerations come in second. So yes,
Right.
there are lots of options. The e-commerce, I mean, obviously you can find anything to buy now online. So a lot has changed, but I wanted to just highlight that a lot has stayed the same as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's lovely. So I know one of the important things. I have my kids running around in the background right now, so excuse the noise. One of the important things that I know your company believes in is the Good Weave certification. So a lot of people out there might not know what Good Weave is. So I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about that. Would you like to explain to us what Good Weave is and why is it so important that you're working with a Good Weave certified manufacturer?
Yeah, so GoodWeave is a non-government agency based in the US with offices in all rug producing and textile producing countries. And they monitor that suppliers, mills, factories are not using illegal child labor. And how they do that is that they visit these factories, and through a series of question answer, they find out who the labor is. They also make sure that fair wages are paid to factory workers. And then they do kind of random searches. So they visit, they'll just show up and make sure that there's no child labor being used.
Mm,
So this has been, I think 1995 is when GoodWeave started.
right.
Yeah.
Now, I know that because of COVID, we have seen the child labor numbers kind of spike. So
Mhm.
despite all the efforts from the previous few years of trying to get that number down, it's actually gone back up because of COVID. So I guess when I ask this question, I'm kind of wearing two hats when I'm asking it. As a consumer, what can we do about it? And also as a business owner, what can we do about it?
Mm-hmm. So as a business owner, Sandy, you're doing more than any other rug company. So your month of giving and asking your suppliers also to participate, I think it's unprecedented in our industry. So truly, I applaud you for this. So
Well,
what
thank
you're
you.
doing by giving all of your profits this month, that will change the lives of some children. That's huge.
Mm,
So as a business, I don't think you're also vetting your suppliers. You're asking those questions. I don't think most rug companies are asking the questions you're asking. So as a business owner, I don't know
Mhm.
that there's anything you could do differently. As a consumer, Sandy, I think like we've had this conversation over and over. When we bring something into our homes, we ask these questions: who made it and what's it made with? So we want to ask that question every time we buy something: who made this? If
Mhm.
it's not certified by, if it's made in a developing nation, look for a certification to say no child labor or fair wages or fair trade. Those are the things that you should be looking for.
Okay. So I guess you kind of answered my next questions. As a business owner and a parent myself, I often find it very frustrating when I see how unaware people are when they're shopping for something. And it's not even that they don't care, it's more of like they just don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So to a crowd who isn't familiar with what to look for when they're shopping for a rug, what are some of the things you want them to know before they make a purchase?
I want to answer that question, but I want to go back to Good Weave if we can for a moment, because you did highlight something, and I think it's really important to note that COVID has changed the numbers in India, for instance, in Nepal and Afghanistan and
Hmm.
Pakistan for the worse. So with economic turmoil and women suffering, mothers suffering, they've made the choice to send their children to work. So we, as the mothers, you and I, we think about this, that what mother would send her child to work if she had an economic alternative?
Hmm.
And the truth is, schools were closed, factories were closed. For some children in India, going to school, that was their one meal a day. So you take away school, and these children are hungry. So
Yeah.
women don't want to send their children to work. So what an organization like Good Weave does, it doesn't just rescue kids, which it does, from terrible working conditions. It provides medical support for that child and their family and educational opportunities through schools.
Hmm.
So this is very important because we're not sort of first world nations saying, well, this is not okay. We have to give
Right.
an option. We have to help, and that's what being a member of or supporting Good Weave does. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
not only does the manufacturer get, I guess, tested or audited to make
yeah.
sure that there's no child labor involved, but my understanding is that anytime someone buys an organic weave rug, because you are a Good Weave member, a portion of the proceeds goes towards paying for the education, paying for these schools and the development programs for them. Is that
Yes,
correct?
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So aside from the Good Weave for certification, I guess going back to my question, what else should someone look for when they are shopping for a rug?
Yeah. So the obvious things are color and style, right? So
Right.
after we I like it and it's the right color, the size.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about materials specifically.
Yeah.
So Organic Weave sells organic cotton and organic wool. So all natural fibers for rugs. And we want to recommend that your consumers really look hard at buying rugs and considering what are they made from. So there are a lot of synthetic rugs on the market. They're cheap and cheerful. And I mean, that can be great, let's say, for
Yeah.
someone whose budget doesn't allow. If you have a budget though, and or want to wait and invest in a rug, please buy a natural fiber rug. In fact, it doesn't have to be that expensive. And if your consumers are shopping on RugsbyRoo, they know that they can buy an affordable natural fiber rug.
Right. What what is an organic rug? Like there's obviously the all natural rugs, and then there's the
Uh,
organic all natural rugs. So what is an organic rug?
okay, so an organic rug is certified. So there, at the moment, there's only one certification available. It's the Global Organic Textile Standard, and it's really the gold standard for all textiles. When something is GOTS certified, you know there are no chemicals of concern. They ban over 500 chemicals. And why are there even chemicals in rugs to begin with. So, that new car smell, the new carpet smell, that new paint smell, well, that's chemicals, and that's chemicals potentially off-gassing in your space. Why do we care about these chemicals? Well, these chemicals can produce poor indoor air quality that we're breathing, so we're ingesting it. The tiny toes walking on carpets, or you're sitting on your carpet, you can actually absorb through your skin these chemicals. And then when we think about organic farming in particular, a lot of people know the story about Roundup, about pesticides and herbicides and all sorts of terrible things that are sprayed on crops, even in the US. So things are banned, like Roundup is banned, for instance, but that has such a negative impact on the farming community. So when we farm organically, it means not only are sheep happier, they're grazing freely and eating organic feedstock, but the farmers who are farming our organic cotton also, they're not exposed to chemicals that could cause, I'll say it, cancer. Yeah.
Now, I have noticed that there are some rugs. So I understand the GOT certification. It's what you guys offer.
Yeah, so maybe just if I can add one thing. So it's the standard covers from first cultivation of the fiber. So sheep on an organic farm, organic cotton on an organic cotton farm, all the way to the finished process. So it takes months. It took us 3 years to get our certification. There are many steps in between. So something as what we might think is benign, or maybe we don't even know about, let's say, most carpet companies use a chlorine bleach to make their wool white when they're cleaning it, or their cotton white before dyeing it, because the dyes will take, and it's better to start with a fresh white. We don't do that. So we had to come up with the alternative for that. So there are all sorts of things in the process that we do that other carpet companies don't do in consideration of harmful chemicals.
Right. I remember the example that you shared with me when I first spoke with you, around the time when we first met, and you said that even the skids that the rugs are shipped over, because they're shipped over in containers, a lot of times they have to, the shipping companies have to spray because they're worried about, I guess, insects growing in the wooden skids. But when you are an organic provider, you can't have that happen. So you kind of have to pay extra.
You can't ship on wooden skids.
Or you can't ship on wooden skids, yeah. And that's something that I would never think of as part of the process, but you do, because you have to eliminate all forms of chemicals.
There's maybe this, I thought you were going to tell a different story, and I want to I'm full of stories. So I want to tell you this one. Maybe I've told you this before, Sandy, in the past, but some in the past 3 years, Alaska Airlines, Delta, American Airlines have all had problems with their uniforms. They got new uniforms for all their flight attendants. So you can just do a Google search, flight attendants and uniforms, and it'll pop up. So all these lawsuits were because the flight attendants were getting rashes. They were getting nosebleeds. They were having trouble. What? And it's like, we're talking thousands of flight attendants, because you can imagine there's tens of thousands of them. And what they found is something changed in the formulation. So formaldehyde is what we use for wrinkle proofing in clothing, and that's a known carcinogen. Then they found other things. So when you want wrinkle-proof clothing, you add chemicals. So now they have new uniforms, but that's a very recent example of something that most people wouldn't even consider. I'm buying a cotton blouse, t-shirt, so those uniforms were made with cotton, but what was used to make it wrinkle resistant was a chemical, and a chemical of concern that caused all sorts of reactions and therefore a lawsuit.
Wow. I actually haven't read about that story, so I'm going to Google that.
People are rising up to their home furnishings also.
Yeah.
They're really maybe more considering fast fashion and clothing before, or food. But home furnishings, it's definitely a growing market for organic products.
Yeah. So since you're talking about clothing,
Yeah.
um, I did notice like in recent years that the bigger retail companies are starting to bring on like consciously sourced materials, and some
Mm.
of them are even called organic t-shirts and organic materials for their clothing. So, but they're not labeled certified organic.
Right.
They're just called organic. So, what's the difference? Like, is there like,
Well, that's so Sandy, I think if you so H&M is the largest consumer of organic cotton, certified organic cotton in the world.
yeah,
So those t-shirts are certified organic. And I think if you look, you'll see, and maybe it's an inside label, you'll see GOTS there.
okay,
So like a little green label that they're allowed to use. So they are really making, so fast fashion is changing.
it's changing.
Maybe I would like to think it's because of consumer behavior. We've seen things change because of consumers demanding and
Hmm.
asking questions.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that's kind of where the rug industry is heading as well? Like it'll become more accessible, like organic
I
rugs.
hope so. We're seeing a lot of recycled rugs, which is fantastic. So
Yeah.
taking something and making something new of it. Some people might know what Home Depot has done recently. So they've banned PFAS chemicals. So those are the forever chemicals. Those are the chemicals that we put in carpet so that it's stain resistant. So in fabrics, we call them performance fabrics. And
Mm.
that means that your child can spill a glass of juice and it's no problem. That will not penetrate the fiber. But it's like a Teflon coating. It's PFAS chemicals are dangerous. They stay in our bloodstream. We ingest them. They dust in the air. They get in the water system. So Home Depot, they made I think a B minus on a consumer watchdog organization back in 2018, maybe. And now they're really taking this seriously. So big retailers are talking about chemicals in the products and saying we're not going to sell them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
huge. So
That
I
is
do
huge.
think
Yeah.
that as consumers, we drive the manufacturer's behavior, the choices that a manufacturer will make. I think also your buying as a retailer, if you just refuse to buy certain chemicals in the rugs
Hmm.
or demand material disclosure list from
Hmm.
your vendors, that'll help.
Hmm.
So at every level, I'm certainly as a manufacturer, I'm considering this all of the time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that it's not a trend. I think people do care about healthy environments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good to see that the big players in the market are also heading in that direction.
Yes.
But I guess the next question I have for you is, until we get there, it's still rather expensive to buy a GOT certified organic rug.
Hmm.
So what would you suggest to so I'm a parent and I have children, and obviously I care about what I bring into my home, but I might not be able to afford one of your rugs right now. What would
Yeah.
you suggest that I do if I can't afford one of your
Yeah, I have
rugs?
no hesitation, Sandy. I'm going to shop at RugsbyRoo. I don't know another retailer who vets their suppliers as you do, not just
Okay.
for fair labor practices, but also for the materials used, and you know what you're asking for. So that's what I would do. I would also maybe consider buying directly from a rug producer, and you can go online and do this. Someone who's producing in a mountainous region with all natural dyes.
Mm,
That's a great option. And then maybe something that's been hand down. So you can buy a vintage rug, you could buy a secondhand rug, an
right,
antique rug. So
right.
maybe that's another option. And then take your shoes off. Bring those pollutants inside.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, those are all great points, and I appreciate the shout out. I promise that was not, Linda did not get paid to do that shout out. Those are all great ideas, I think, for people who can't really, obviously we want to save up for that perfect rug. But if for those who can't, then those are some of the things that we can kind of look out for in the meantime. A final question for you. What's next for you? Like, is there going to be like a fourth generation in the family to be in the rug business, or what's happening?
Oh man, it's way too soon for me to think of that. But I will say I am. So my grandfather worked with a gentleman in India, and then our fathers worked together. Now we're third generation to third generation. So we're pretty proud of our family connections. So at this moment, I'm just thinking, my generation, this generation.
So you're
I
not
don't
thinking
know
that
what's
far yet.
next. No, not thinking about my children and what they'll do.
All right. Well, keep doing what you're doing with Organic Weave, because we love your products. We love working with you. We love you as a person.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, we really appreciate you.
We've got one more thing to shout out, don't we?
We do. Do you want to share it?
I have a little sample here.
Perfect.
No, go ahead. It was your idea. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, so we just want to remind everyone that we do have a giveaway. Linda here has generously partnered with us to give away one of her best-selling rugs, which she just held up. It's called the Seersucker Shag Ivory.
So
What
it's
is it?
wool and cotton stripes in ivory, all natural.
Yes. And
Mm.
I wish you could all feel it, because it's super soft. I've had the pleasure of feeling some of the samples, and it's just like something that you want to kind of cuddle against your face because it's so soft. So our giveaway ends on July 29th. So, and it's happening on Instagram. So if you go onto either one of our Instagram feeds at RugsbyRoo, you can look for the giveaway there, and you just have to like the three of our accounts, and then you will be in for the draw that's happening on July 29th. So hopefully
And
all of you who are watching, go there
we'll
and enter.
And one other thing, if you happen to see this after July 29th, Sandy and I have decided that we're going to keep doing this because it keeps us in touch. So just follow Rugs by Rue on Instagram, and you'll see when the next one comes out. Maybe in 3 months. We'll do another one. So you have a chance to win a rug.
Okay. Now that this is recorded, we have to do it.
Oh, we're going to do it.
All right. Anything else you want to add before we say goodbye?
Thank you. And thank you for all that you do.
Thank
Really
you.
giving all your profits away to Good Weave. Sandy, that's really to be applauded. Thank you for that.
Thank you for your contributions as well. The feeling is mutual.
Thank you.
All right. Goodbye. Thank you for your time.